Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this live segment of Australian Indian Radio, live streamed by Chantex Multimedia, and welcome back. And it is good to be back as well. As we know, we've just passed these Easter holidays, and of course, we've come out of that snap lockdown as well. There's so much to talk about, but today we'll talk also about many of the functions and events that have been cancelled. That's later on in the program. But once again, and I hope everyone had a very nice break over Easter. As we know, with the snap lockdown, many people could not plan according to what they would have liked. But I think, looking at everyone's social media post, it is quite evident that people did adjust and adapt. So, adjusting and adapting to the circumstances, and what it meant was people stayed in their own local states and where they were allowed, and there was so much to see, so much to do, and so they have all taken that into advantage. We had a quick getaway in one of our beautiful places. We will bring some clips to you, not today, but in another segment where we'll talk about that beautiful place that we spent our Easter in. But today, let's right now take a look at what's happening. I know it's been very, very wet out there, and yesterday even coming in from Cairns, we were afraid whether we'd get in the night flight or not, or might, we were afraid that the flight might get cancelled, but no, it's here. With the weather news and weather update, let's welcome to Dilraj.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 23 degree. Brisbane area is cloudy with very high chance of showers and periods of rain. Wind southeasterly 15 to 25 km per hour, turning southerly 20 to 30 km per hour in the morning. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 3 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 8, that is very high. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you very much, Dilraj, for that update. And as we know, it is wet weather, so during wet weather, it is recommended that you take care. Now, as we know that going out of the house at this point in time, you are required to have your mask with you at all times. So, there's just no excuse. At all times, you have to have the mask on. So what else is, what else is on, and what do you really need to do? Let's take a very quick look at all the sides. So the Queensland government has kept in place some of the restrictions after it ended the restrictions for the 3-day snap lockdown earlier. And it was done earlier than expected, which was good news. So Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk said the 3-day Greater Brisbane lockdown had proven to be successful, limiting the spread of COVID-19 in Queensland. She says, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to this mighty team effort, Ms. Palaszczuk said. I particularly want to thank businesses and their staff who all have made sacrifices for this lockdown to be effective. It is still so important that Queenslanders continue to do the right thing and adhering to the remaining restrictions. Queensland's remaining restrictions which came into effect from 12 noon from 1st of April till 12 noon on Thursday 15th April are that all individuals are required to adhere by the following restrictions. Individuals must carry a face mask at all times when they leave home unless they have a lawful reason not to do so. They must wear a mask in indoor spaces such as shopping centres and supermarkets. So, and hospitality venues, example, clubs, pubs. If you're going to hospitals and aged care facilities, indoor workplaces where it's safe to wear a mask and you can't physically distance, public transport, taxis and rideshare, and waiting places for queues for this transport, airports and travelling on planes. Masks do not need to be worn in some circumstances, including if you are under 12 and people who have certain medical conditions where workplace it is not safe to do so. Masks do not need to be worn indoors when strenuously exercising unless you cannot socially distance. Businesses will need to adhere to 1 person per 2 square meter rule. Restaurants, bars, cafes and nightclubs are able to open indoor eating and drinking while seated only. Outdoor eating and drinking while standing. Outdoor dancing is permitted. And gatherings to be restricted to 30 people in homes. Up to 500 people can gather outside in public space. Outdoor events with more than 500 people can proceed with a COVID-safe plan. Masks must be worn if social distancing is not possible. Restrictions on aged care, hospitals, disability care and correctional facilities will apply with no personal visits during this period. Church services will be allowed 100% occupancy with ticketed and allocated seating, or they must adhere to the 1 person per 2 square meter rule. Check-in of the Queensland app is mandatory. And Queensland Government also announced its COVID-safe check-in app will be mandatory for most hospitality businesses across Queensland from 1st May to assist contact tracing efforts. Each check-in Queensland QR code is assigned to physical address, so businesses with multiple locations will require separate restrictions for QR code for each location. So there you are, up to date. These rules will still be in place and they do apply. So please make sure that we are following all these rules because it is very, very important that we do so. Well, right now, I know that Dilraj has provided the news of weather, but let's take a listen to what the BOM or the Bureau of Meteorology has to say.
Severe weather warning remains current for areas of southeast Queensland for the potential of locally heavy rainfall, damaging winds and hazardous surf conditions about our coastlines. Although the peak period of severe weather has probably passed from overnight, the severe weather risk still remains, though it should start to abate as we move into tonight and into Tuesday. These conditions were all being driven by a subtropical low that formed off the Fraser Island coast, and as of 10 a.m. this morning, it was situated approximately 90 kilometres east of Fraser Island and was slow moving and heading slowly southwards offshore of the Sunshine Coast. And as a result of the system moving southwards, the severe weather risk should start to diminish into Tuesday. Our flood watch still remains in force for coastal catchments between St Lawrence and the Queensland-New South Wales border, including areas of the Darling Downs as well. This is mainly due to the fact that we have a lot of saturated catchments around southeast Queensland, so although the heavy rain risk is starting to diminish, a lot of our catchments are very saturated and will respond quite quickly to any further rainfall over the next 24 hours. And we're still going to have quite a lot of shower activity around over the next 24 hours as we move into Tuesday, but as that low pressure system that we talked about starts to move away, those showers should also start to abate, and so should our flood risk.
If the waters are flooded, if the roads are flooded, you don't know what's under the road, it's flooded, forget it, turn back and find alternative routes. So we are at the start of the school holidays. We want everyone to enjoy the school holidays as the weather abates, and our crews will remain at the ready to support, but we would rather that they don't need to respond to any incidents of any type. The 11 people and the 1 dog, they became isolated. They're in a safe high ground area, and there was a conversation with respect to whether they stayed there until the waters receded. However, it was believed that it was better to get them out. They didn't have really supplies for all of that long to sustain themselves to stay there. So in fact we actually decided that it was quite safe from an operational perspective. We got the SES flood boats, travelled across the flood waters, and through small groups just brought them back to safety.
Ladies and gentlemen, the message is very, very clear. If it is flooded, forget it. Simple as that. Just do not attempt. Go back, find shelter and, wait. If you are unable to find an alternative route, please just take shelter somewhere and just remain safe. Wait for the tide to pass away, or the water to subside before you attempt that crossing, or until it is declared safe to do so. Keep away. Do not drive in the flooded waters. So that message cannot be clearer, that the and I think it originated right here in Queensland, is that if it's flooded, forget it. Well, right now, Australia pays tribute to the fashion designer Carla. She is no more.
For generations of Australian women, Carla Zampatti was the go-to label for classic tailoring and formal frocks. Her signature style gave her longevity in an industry obsessed with the latest fads.
I discovered what I wanted to do in life at the age of 6. I decided I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to create beautiful fashion.
Born in Italy, Carla Zampatti emigrated with her family in the 1950s. A determined work ethic led to her first collection in 1965.
It was unusual for a woman to want to start her own business. In fact, in the public sector, if you got married, you had to leave your job.
She was part of the change that happened because, back before the 70s, we looked overseas for designs. There wasn't really an Australian fashion label that stood out in the crowd, and Carla was the first of many.
Dressing the nation's celebrities and politicians, Zampatti paved the way for many Australian female designers, including her own daughter Bianca Spender. Today I lost my mother, my inspiration, my mentor and my friend. I'm lost for words and totally heartbroken. The Prime Minister says her contribution to our nation will be timeless, just like her designs. And from the New South Wales Premier, talented, generous and inspiring, a true trailblazer.
But the everyday Australian woman wanted at some stage in their life a piece of Carla in their wardrobe.
An avid arts lover, it was at the gala premiere of La Traviata last Friday night where Carla Zampatti fell down some stairs. She was taken to Sydney's St Vincent's Hospital where she died this morning.
The stairs are very dangerous at the Handa Opera, and I think they need to do something about the safety and install some rails, because otherwise other people might fall as well.
Opera Australia has released a statement. It's deeply saddened by the news of her passing, and its heartfelt sympathies are with her family. Carla Zampatti's been described as a champion of Australian women and a multicultural success story, designing clothes to empower women at work, at home and at life's major events. After initially being rejected for a bank loan to start her business, her retail empire expanded to standalone boutiques across Australia and New Zealand.
I actually think women have inspired me. I think their drive, their will to achieve.
Carla Zampatti is survived by her 3 children and 9 grandchildren. Antoinette Collins, ABC News, Sydney.
Carla Zampatti, and now she is no more, and quite an unfortunate incident slipping on those stairs, and of course no doubt rails and other safety measures will be installed in due course. Well, it was mentioned that she is an inspiration and a success migrant story of someone coming in from Italy and of course starting and originally being rejected for a small bank loan to start and having made that way. Even the Prime Minister and everyone are paying tribute to her today. Long live her legacy and for that amazing work that she's done, on the belief that anyone can do it. You have to have that strong willpower to go out there and do what you want. Always follow your dreams and the path of success will be yours. Well, now for another sad story is, there's so much happening within the scene of domestic violence. I mean, prevention. While prevention and of course there's awareness that's been happening, there's so many good organizations who are all working together to curb domestic violence, but it still exists. As we know, it is one of the areas within our community which is very hidden. It happens behind walls, it happens in houses, and it is many times not reported. But in this report, we look at regional Australia, and as the report says that there is an increase in domestic violence in regional Australia, which is quite sad.
Grace Holton and her 3 siblings are living in the shadow of domestic violence.
Cupcakes would be better, or muffins, or... When are we doing that? In a minute.
Their grandmother has been their legal guardian since their mother was murdered by her partner in 2012. The family is now helping create change.
Whenever we have a Red Rose Day for my daughter, more and more people are coming, and that's awesome, because they've had enough.
People are starting to notice more, and I reckon we should do more so that everyone's on board.
Behind the beauty of regional Australia, domestic violence support services are reporting an ugly story. 1 in 4 women are experiencing intimate partner violence. Here in the small Tasmanian city of Launceston, police responded to an average of 3 domestic violence call-outs each day in 2020. That's an increase from previous years, but far from the full picture.
We are all seeing more clients and more demand for our services, but not everybody feels comfortable in reaching out to the police.
Housing and refuge options are getting worse in regional Australia. In Dubbo in New South Wales, it's causing some women to stay in violent relationships.
Particularly victims that do have children, they are worried about stability for their children and they would prefer to stay in these relationships than leave and have the uncertainty of not having a roof over their head.
Survivor Mary Knowles wants all regional areas to have a neighbourhood house.
Neighbourhood houses are a really, really good, safe opportunity for rural women in particular to be able to access services that they might need or information they might need.
A report by the Australian Institute of Criminology last year found women in regional areas are reporting more severe and frequent patterns of domestic violence. Services say we need more housing options and behaviours to change to improve the situation.
Hey, it's Penny Terry here.
Podcasts and workshops are ways services are trying to spread awareness.
In listening to the stories, you learn that it is the day-to-day stuff that is where the problems can start. One lady was telling me that she'd get in trouble for peeling potatoes the wrong way.
People still are very fixated on what physical and sexual violence looks like, and I think we've still got a long way to go in talking about the other aspects.
White Ribbon says it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, and it's working with rural communities to change the trends.
We're asking people to come together in their local communities to develop community-led and designed prevention plans to help turn around these statistics.
Just think of yourself in that position and that you only hope that somebody will come and say to you, do you need help, are you okay?
Until there's change, families like the Coopses will keep helping victims bounce back. Monica Champ, ABC News, Launceston.
And it was good to see Brett Chilcott, the director from White Ribbon, with that report there as well. So, as it was said, that White Ribbon on its own cannot do a lot more than what they are doing at the moment, which is raising awareness. And under the new scheme, they are trying to reach out to as many communities as possible to raise that awareness. Of course, please be aware that White Ribbon does not provide first-hand services, but our duty, our role is community awareness, and that's where our focus is. And workplace accreditation and schools program. These are some of the main thrust of White Ribbon. There's so many different bodies whom we work together with to curb domestic violence. But I mean, it is very, very unfortunate. Right now, to the next news, which is quite a good news. Well, in even times like this, as we know, a lot of our front-end workers, spend numerous hours in hospitals, putting their own lives at risk. The risk of, catching the flu, the COVID-19, but they are there providing. And one such story is of Sasha, who is from Sunshine Coast, who has been declared a hero.
It's massive and it's really satisfying to be part of. I'm a people's person. I really enjoy working with people, from testing to now vaccinating, being involved with people that are critically unwell, being by their side and seeing those circumstances. It was really satisfying to be part of. It was extremely scary, very anxious times, very unknown times. I guess just picturing ourselves like other countries were experiencing, a department that maybe couldn't handle the needs of people and what that would mean for us. It's great to be at this stage of vaccination because I feel like in a way we can look forward to a sense of normality and some safety in the future. Although it is a threat still, I just feel we're slowly conquering it now. My name's Sasha. I work in the COVID vaccination clinic here at Sunshine Coast University Hospital.
And good on you, Sasava. Well done. And, there are many people like that who are out there and doing it out in the front line. And, we should all applaud the work and the effort of all our frontline workers. Well, the vaccine clinics are going to double.
Another jab closer to a major milestone.
Just relax your arm for me. Yep.
This man is one of around 840,000 Australians who have now received their first COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah, that's quick.
Within days, that figure should reach 1 million. Well short, though, of the original target set by the government.
The reason only about 1 million vaccines have been given so far is because instead of 4 million, over 3 million doses of vaccine were not supplied by Europe.
Export bans dramatically slowing the rollout, sparking a tit-for-tat between the states and the Commonwealth.
No doubt the Prime Minister will continue to try to use the vaccine rollout to distract from the government's other problems.
But as Australia enters the 4th week of the program, these experts aren't getting worried yet.
I'm not overly concerned by the slow rollout.
Really, we shouldn't be judging it this early. Currently, only about a third of all the practices have come online.
Soon there'll be many more. The number of GP clinics administering the jab set to double to 3,000 this week.
This is where people receive their vaccines each year. It's incredibly well set up.
At the same time, production at Melbourne's CSL facility is ramping up. The company distributed 830,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine a fortnight ago. More batches are now being released on a rolling basis every week, the company says. It's hoping to reach output of 1 million doses a week as soon as possible. That will be crucial if the entire population is to receive their first COVID-19 vaccine by the end of October. So far, Australia's only averaging about 60 to 70,000 jabs a day. Compare that with the UK, where the daily average is closer to 500,000, and the United States, which is vaccinating more than 3 million people a day.
It is needing to be speeded up. We maybe have to start using stadiums and other large places.
At the moment, we don't need that sort of system because we are rolling out the vaccine very effectively.
National Cabinet will discuss the vaccine rollout this week, as well as a push from the Prime Minister to publish daily data about the number of doses administered. Jane Norman, ABC.
So there you go. We are short of the target, as was said, but of course we knew about that blockage from Europe. They could not supply us the vaccine, so that's one part of the argument. But anyway, I think authorities are working on it, and if everyone keeps calm and let the authorities do what they do, and of course the government is trying its level best. And of course, there will always be, room for debate, and people will always be questioning things. But anyway, we are behind target, and we are not administering as much as some of the other nations. On the other hand, when we look at India, who had started to distribute the COVID vaccines to other countries, has stopped doing that because of the number of cases increasing in India itself. So, won't it make sense to vaccinate your own people first before, of course, you always need to look after other countries, but you have to look in your own backyard first.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Real estate is the world, and don't forget that tomorrow we'll bring to you the live updates of real estate and what's happening. As you have seen in the news, that the house prices are reaching a new height in Australia. And of course, with that, there's increased activity in the market. So what are the trends? What are the right areas to invest in? All those will be discussed tomorrow right here with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. Well, right now it's time to go to the world news. Well, the Australian couple who were locked in Myanmar have been freed.
With Myanmar in turmoil around them in the wake of the military coup, Australian business consultants Matthew O'Kane and Krista Avery spent an anxious fortnight wondering if they'd ever be allowed to leave. They'd tried to fly out of Yangon last month but were stopped at the airport and ordered into home detention. Now, at last, some good news. Ms Avery said in a statement she was incredibly relieved to have been released and to be on her way home with her husband Matt. Even though she knew she'd done nothing wrong, it was very stressful being held under house arrest for 2 weeks.
They were just running a business in Myanmar on agriculture, on agribusiness, so going about their lives trying to improve Burmese agriculture. So there was no reason for them to be detained, perhaps just because they were foreigners.
The Australian government said it provided support for the couple's departure and continues to push for the release of Aung San Suu Kyi's Australian economic advisor, Professor Sean Turnell, who was detained 5 days after the coup.
The good news is, of course, is that now Krista and Matt are released and on their way home. Then the Australian government can really focus on getting Sean out of Myanmar.
But with the military junta investigating him for violating the Official Secrets Act, and with Myanmar's generals focused more on cracking down on dissent than diplomacy, securing his release is proving to be a much harder task. Mazoe Ford, ABC News.
Yes, it is proving to be a harder task, as we have seen from so many protests and so many lives lost there. And, one can only hope that, stability is priced as soon as possible. Well, right now, let's go to UK, where Boris Johnson says a planned reopening.
And the net result of your efforts, and of course with the vaccine rollout, is that I can today confirm that from Monday the 12th of April we will move to step 2 of our roadmap. Reopening shops, gyms, zoos, holiday campsites, personal care services like hairdressers, and of course beer gardens and outdoor hospitality of all kinds. And on Monday the 12th I will be going to the pub myself and cautiously but irreversibly raising a pint of beer to my lips. As part of our roadmap, we're also publishing today on GovUK the early thinking on our 4 reviews on the safe return of major events, on social distancing, the potential role of COVID status certification, and on the resumption of international travel. We set out our roadmap and we're sticking in it. And I want to stress that we see nothing in the present data that makes us think that we will have to deviate from that roadmap. May the 17th, as you know, we're hoping to go for the opening up of indoor hospitality and so on. We're not planning for anything of that kind at that stage. But I think what is certainly true is that the idea of vaccination status being useful for international travel is something that all countries are looking at. I do think that's going to be part of our of the way people deal with it, and we need to think about that. This is obviously, we're hopeful that we can get going, but from May the 17th, we're hopeful, but I do not wish to give hostages to fortune or to underestimate the difficulties that we're seeing in some of the destination countries that people might want to go to. We don't want to see the virus being re-imported into this country from abroad. Plainly, there is a surge in other parts of the world, and we have to be mindful of that, and we have to be realistic. So what we're going to do, the Global Travel Task Force is going to report later on this week. We will then be setting out well before May the 17th what we think is reasonable.
And yes, no one wants the COVID-19 to be imported into any country, so that's why they are blocking their borders as well, and no one can be too careful. So, I mean, it has always, even in Australia, has come from other countries. So it is a safe, move. Safe move meaning it's a move in line with the safety of the nation. By the way, I was talking to my uncle in London last night, and he has had his second jab as well. So, as my father's younger brother, who's been there from 1950s. So, and doing quite well. He's got the second jab as well, so he's quite happy. Well, right now, we're moving from Myanmar, we went to London. Right now, we'll go to Brazil and look at how they are coping with the COVID-19 crisis.
Before COVID, this was a place where people came to play sport. Now, far too many come here to die.
The profile used to be mainly elderly patients, and today more and more younger people enter the hospital every day. When they arrive here, it's a difficult situation. Difficulty breathing one day, intubation the next.
The spread of the Brazil variant, known officially as P1, is thought to be partly responsible for the rise in patients under the age of 60. Many of them can survive longer in intensive care, but that's adding even more pressure on a health system close to collapse.
The amount of medication for intubation is decreasing, but the number of patients who need to be intubated is increasing.
It was a close shave for this 44-year-old father of three, but now his condition is improving.
What matters most for me is to go back to being the man of the house, to go back to my family. That's what gives me strength.
Local authorities have imposed limited restrictions, but they're up against one of the world's most prominent COVID skeptics, a president who is trying to use the courts to overturn lockdowns. Brazil's strongman describes the virus as a little flu and sees off cabinet colleagues who dare to disagree.
We had and we have two enemies, the virus and unemployment. We're not going to solve this problem by staying at home.
In the favelas, like here in Paraisópolis, the economic crisis is hitting hard. Many residents rely on food handouts. Among them, single mum Adriana Santana, whose work as a carer has dried up.
It's helped a lot, but we need more support because it's a very difficult time. Most mothers are unemployed.
Vaccinations are in short supply. Just 2% of the population is fully inoculated. Most have no protection against this second wave. 330,000 Brazilians have died with COVID so far. So many that there are now literally not enough hours in the day to bury them. Barbara Miller, ABC News.
And not enough hours in the day to bury them. What a situation to be in. Right now, the last news for this segment, in the international news, we go to East Timor. And floods wreak havoc in East Timor, as you can see, buildings collapsing, bridges being washed away. It is very, very devastating news there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to the functions and events. But today, it's a different kind of announcement. First of all, we are going to look at many of the planned events which have either been cancelled or postponed. So first up, let's look at Bharatiya Navvars. Well, this has been postponed, and it was going to be on Saturday. So as we know, with the current restrictions in place, it is not possible to go ahead. So, please keep listening to our channel and through our news media as well, that we will bring to you an update of when it's going to take place once again. So, but for the at this point in time, Divya Jyoti Jagriti Sansthan Australia's Bharatiya Nav Varsh Utsav 2021 has been postponed due to the current restrictions that have been put in place. So we will look at and we'll keep you updated on how things are going, and then we will talk about all the functions and events that are going to be taking place. And next up, we talk about the Bollywood. This event is rescheduled. It is now going to be held on 25th of April. So the Bollywood Fusion Night, which is due to the prevailing COVID-19 restrictions, will now be rescheduled to 21st of April. Moreover, they guarantee that they will refund tickets if anyone is unable to make it to the new date. So that's Disco, good on them for changing that date, and the date now is 25th of April. Next up, we talk about Queensland Sangeet Mela and the Sarat Sangeet, which was once again scheduled to be held on this on the 10th at Finnis Hall. This too has been cancelled for now. Another function might be planned for around 26th of June. We will keep you updated on that. As you know, this was going to be a very, very good concert organized by Queensland Sangeet Mela Association. Unfortunately, under the current prevailing situations, it cannot go ahead. So this has been cancelled as well. The other cancellation that we have is the Indian concert, which was by Pandit Diwakar Moti, and of course the Indian music concert of the students. So the students' annual function, which was going to be held on this Saturday as well, this program has now been postponed as well. So keep listening, and we will provide you an update of when this will actually take place. So these are a few of the functions which have been affected by the current restrictions, and these are the ones which will be rescheduled. So ladies and gentlemen, right now, moving on, we will look at all the functions that are going to take place as we move on. So one of the ones that's going to take place is India Day Fair, and of course on 14th of May we have the Girmit Festival. So the Girmit Festival, not the festival, the Girmit Divas. So Girmit Divas will be held at Queensland Multicultural Centre. As we know that QMC is the venue where a lot of these functions and events do take place, and so this year's Girmit will take place at Queensland Sangeet at Queensland Multicultural Centre on 14th of May as planned at this stage. So if there is any changes, we will let you know for sure. So there were, ladies and gentlemen, up to date on the Australian Indian Radio's live feed for today. That's all we have for you today. It's been wonderful having your company. It's always so good to see you, but don't forget that there have been many functions and events that have been cancelled. And if it is raining outside there, please do take care on the roads if you're driving. And if it is flooded, forget it. That is a very, very simple message. Please remain safe. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.